The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, happy Wednesday. Welcome to She Is Shenomenal. I am your host, Tasha Champion, the Shenomenal Coach of Champion Empowerment. Always teaching you to love the champion you are. And I'm excited to have you guys back. If you are new to this show, welcome and thank you for joining. Today, you guys are going to get a treat. We are going to be chatting with co-pastor of Church One Ministries, Pastor Kim Ervin. She is just a queen in the community, a queen of the church, a queen in marriage and family therapy. And today she's going to be chatting about all the things that she does. And then she has just added to her level of queening by adding a new show to her plate called It's Just Kim. And she's going to be talking about that today. But before I jump into having my beautiful guest today, I want to talk to you guys just about a few things. So, number one, I have been traveling nonstop for like the last 15 days. I've been all over the place domestically, but it was just like I was tired. I'm trying to sleep. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. And then I had to just kind of go within like, all right, God, what's going on? Like I've never traveled this much in such a short period of time. And then I got a message that was like, hey, Tasha, I'm ready for you to start traveling with my team. So this is now elevating me to another level. This is going to increase my capacity of my reach and what I do. But what I realized is all this traveling in such a short amount of time was God really preparing me for what's getting ready to happen. Like he's getting ready to increase my travel. So I need to learn how to adjust, how to balance, and how to make sure that things are good at home, in business, and in travel. So I say that because I want you to realize that sometimes God is moving and shaking you in different ways, and he's showing you things, and you're like, why am I going through this? Or why is this happening? Why is so much coming at me at one time? And more often than not, and I really want to say all the time, like it's because God is saying, like, I'm preparing you. And in order to prepare you for this bigger blessing, I need you to take a minute and just learn in these little pockets that I'm giving you. So if you are going through a lot, if you're dealing with a lot, if a lot is being thrown at you, trust me, you can handle it. Okay. And I know people say like he'll never put more on you than you can bear. But what I like to say is when he is elevating you, he has to push you because you cannot be elevated at the same place you are right now. So trust that elevation. Let him move you up because you're great and you deserve it. Okay. Now, second thing I want to talk about is some of you know, if you follow me on social media, if you've been to my events, I am officially doing my first Shenomenal Women's Retreat in October of 2023, October 6th through 8th, 2023, in Palm Springs, California. And what I like to remind you is when you say yes to this all-inclusive women's retreat, You are unapologetically giving yourself permission to unplug, unwind, to appreciate and remember the incredible Shenomenal woman you are. Because more times than not, as women, we tend to live in our titles of mom, wife, girlfriend, sister, daughter, co-worker, CEO, entrepreneur. Like, we have all these titles. And sometimes we just simply forget Tasha is or who you are because you've been invested into your titles. And this retreat is just going to allow you to pause, unwind, and go back into the truth and connect to the beauty that's within you, to nourish the soul, to plant new seeds that you are ready to have grow, blossom, and bloom in your life. So if you are ready, if you are yes, I have a pretty extensive payment plan because I want to make sure that people have comfort levels in investing in themselves. Remember, you can choose to say, oh, I'm paying to attend Tasha's retreat, or you can say, I am investing in myself, because trust me, it is a self-investment and you are going to walk away full. Your heart is going to be renewed. Your soul is going to be nourished. And y'all know I always bring some beautiful fire with me, and my energetic support team that's coming with me. We are getting ready to just expand and let our hearts just really be on the plate and be. So that is what I have for y'all. Just know that God can elevate you in many ways, and also know that the Shenomenal retreat is happening and you want to be a part of it. I have about 8 spots left. So go to shenomenal.com/retreat to get all the information and to go ahead and register. Now, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I am so happy to sit and chat with co-pastor Kim. I hear her name all the time, okay? Like, that lets me know people love her, all right? And today you guys are going to meet her. If you already know her, then you already know what you got coming. So stick with me. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with co-pastor Kim. All right, we are back, and we are going to go ahead and bring in co-pastor Kim and just get this conversation going. Hi, co-pastor.
Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you on this, well, for me, this rainy Wednesday evening?
Yeah, it was a little rainy earlier, but the weather's a little better now. I'm here and I'm doing well. I'm gonna say that I'm doing well. It's been a day.
What you put out is what you get. So if you say you're doing well,
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Absolutely. So tell us about Pastor Kim. Tell us, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Tell us about Kim and tell us about Pastor Kim.
Wow. Well, let's see. Kim is a mom, a wife, an employee, a show host, a co-pastor, uh, a sister friend, just a lover of people, a helper, just so many things, so many hats that I find myself wearing. So many times I was talking with our producer just prior to the start of your show, and I was telling him how it was something I needed done. And I was having a hard time asking, and I wasn't having a hard time asking, but I was telling him that it never occurred to me to ask for these certain people for help. And he said, well, why not? And I said, I don't know. It just never occurred to me. And he said, but you're always helping and giving and doing for other people. So why wouldn't anyone want to do something for you? And I had to really stop and sit in that because I need the help. And it's taken me out of my comfort zone to ask. So with all those hats that I wear, I have to also realize that sometimes I need assistance. And so, all of those things. Now, Pastor Kim, that girl, busy. Being a pastor, along with my husband, Bishop William Todd Ervin of Church One Ministries. Oh my God, let's see, my son is 30. So we've been in ministry for about 32 years. And we started, I think we were in our mid-20s when we started. We started the ministry with just a few folks and all of our children, because, we had babies back then.
Right.
And we just grew the ministry from that point on. So now we do a lot of different things in the ministry, do feeding. We feed people. The pandemic really brought a lot of things out of our ministry. And so there are weekly feedings that are going on, and just all kinds of things that we're doing in ministry. And so I love ministry. I love working with my husband. I love doing women's ministry. I love doing couples ministry. I just love all of that.
Beautiful. Now, one thing I recognized about your church when I went to your website, and it just really touched my heart, and I want you to talk a little bit more about what this means, and that's your tagline. And it's a heaven-bound church with the down-to-earth ministry. Yes. What does that mean? Who came up with that, and what does that mean? Because it touched me in a way that I'm going to explain how I took it. I took it as, we're not going to be so religious that we forget everybody is on their own journey. And we want to truly meet people where they are without judgment and love on them and let them know that we all have a place of faith within ourselves and it doesn't have to look the same. That's Absolutely. How I took it.
Yes. And you took it very well. My husband came up with it, because we both came out of the Baptist church. Our church is a non-denominational. So we came out of the Baptist church, no knock to the Baptist church. That was where we got our foundation. Okay. And so there were a lot of traditions in the Baptist church that, we learned as we grew up in the church. And what my husband realized when he was getting ready to start the church was that there were so many people that he knew from all different walks of life. And these people, some of them knew about church, some of them grew up in church, but some of them didn't know church at all. Some of them were fresh out of prison and places like that. And so he's always been a people's person, always been one to reach out and help people, no matter, where you are, what path you're on in life. And so he said, you know what, I'm going to start a church where it's come as you are dressed. It's come as you are dressed. And, back then that was unheard of. You didn't come as you were. You put on your Sunday's best. I remember being at it was my father-in-law's church, actually. And I remember getting my daughters dressed in their fluffy dresses and their frilly socks and their patent leather shoes and, and the little suits and bow ties. And so, when we moved away from that as it relates to ministry, we took a hit. We took a hit. Oh my God, we took a hit. People called us, said that we were a cult, that we were just playing church. some of the people, where we came from, and not my father-in-law, he was really supportive, but some of the folks who were in the church said we would be back because we're just a bunch of kids playing church. But we never went back. It's like moving out your parents' home. Once you leave, some folks never go back, and so we never went back. We just kept pressing forward, no matter how hard it got, how tough things got. We were young, we all had families, and so we didn't have a whole lot of money to do certain things, but whatever we did it together. And so the church just grew. People were interested in that because they said, wow, this is a place I can go and I don't have to get all dressed up. I don't have to spend all my money on clothes. I can just come as I am. I'm free to just be who I am, and still serve God, and so that's pretty much where that came from.
I love it. And like with this, as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, that's I really, really like that, because I tell people all the time, the further I got away from religion, the closer I got to God. Absolutely. And that's what was important to me, was my relationship with God. And that looks different for everybody. But I'm like, at the end of the day, who do you pray to? Who do you turn to in need? Who do you rely on? And that's different for everybody. And I like when people welcome that and just say, hey, we're all different. But at the end of the day, we're going to understand that God is at the top, the bottom, the middle, and everywhere else. And so I just love that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to jump around because I'm getting to know Pastor Kim today. Okay. So you are also a marriage and family therapist. Tell us about that. And my question in this, because as a Black woman who obviously, of course, has Black children, I was just talking to my son about this today, like, if you want a therapist, I would prefer to go into our insurance and say, like, I need a Black man for my son. And because I think that that's important. There's a culture that, Black therapists tend to understand more so. So how do you incorporate understanding just Black culture when you are speaking with Black families?
Most of our therapy and our counseling comes or happens within our ministry. So it's not really hard to do as far as that's concerned. But there is a culture, there are things that I understand from a Black woman's perspective, or my husband may understand from a Black man's perspective. But we don't limit ourselves in that regard. We've had people come off the street, of course, in the neighborhood of the church who were not African American, and they wanted some, family therapy, or they wanted some marriage therapy. And, we were there to do that. But, it really does. It's something special about being able to look at the person across the desk and be able to identify with them on different levels. Maybe it's your upbringing, where you were born, what your parents did to discipline you. If someone was to say to me, my mom, we got spankings, I can identify with that.
Exactly.
I get that. My grandmother told me to go get a switch off the tree. I've been there, done that, and I'm not saying that those are things that, we continue to do, within within our society, but I am saying I get it. I understand. And I don't look at you with an eye of judgment to say, oh my God, your family was so abusive. What was going on?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I get it,
Exactly. How with you being a family therapist and a marriage and family therapist, and you said like you guys do that a lot within the church, how do you guys support Black men understanding that it is okay to reach out and receive therapy?
That's funny you would say that. Many times it's the husbands that are saying, hey, let's go talk. Let's go take care of business, because sometimes it's because, the wife is like, you know what? And I always tell men, when a woman doesn't care, when she says, I don't care anymore, that's when you're in a danger zone.
Absolutely.
And so they're like, okay, well, let's go take care of this. But then I've also had men who wanted to come on their own, and they wanted to talk about the things that they struggled with. Sometimes they'll feel only comfortable with talking to my husband, and then there are times where they'll say, I want to talk to co-pastor. There are things that I have experienced that maybe my husband hasn't experienced. And I've had men say, you know what, I want to come and sit down and talk with you. And I think because there is no judgment, I don't have any certain expectations for them, to be this strong, powerful, macho man. Because, if you sit there and you cry, I feel you, brother. I feel you, brother. And I think because, we give them that safe space to just say and do and be, it makes it a little easier for them because, there's a lot of men who don't. We've had wives who come in and they're not with their husband. Their husband says, I don't need that. I don't need anybody telling me what to do,
Right.
And so, and I tell women all the time, okay, well, come get you together.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of you, and then maybe even in, some of the therapy sessions or the counseling, maybe we can figure out how we can kind of, pull him in and by you changing your behavior and the things that you do and how you're speaking and talking and addressing him, maybe he'll say, well, maybe it's not such a bad idea. Well, let me go see what these people are doing, So
yeah, I love that. Now, because we all know that communication plays a big part in marriage, and it's also a big part that is lacking in marriages because, we come to the table, we don't know how to communicate. We haven't been properly taught, even just as children, like we're not properly taught how to communicate. So what's that one tip you want to give married couples out there about communication with one another?
Absolutely. Just one.
Let me say this. What would you say to the married couple and then as a family with children? And this is your time, honey. If you want to go with more than one, you go with more than one. You take it away.
Okay. One of the things that I say to couples all the time is that, communication is the most important thing in a marriage. And most times people think that, it's just the sex. And the sex is very important, don't get me wrong. But if you're not communicating, then sometimes the sex is off, because you're not saying what you need. And so one of the things that we do talk to some of our couples who are intending to get married in the premarital sessions, we talk to them about keeping family and friends out of your business.
Now, hold on, Pastor. You got to say that one more time, a little bit louder, because there's some people way in that back that did not just hear what you said.
Keep your family, and this is how I phrase it in our sessions. I always say, keep mama and them, cousin them, sister them, all the Nims, keep that whole Nim family out of your business, and when you do that, because it's very tempting. It's very tempting when, your sister's been your best friend all your life, or your cousin's been your confidant, people that you've been used to sharing with. It's very easy for you to be tempted to talk to them. But one of the things that we talk about is that when you start sharing certain things that maybe that bothers you, you don't like, or maybe your husband or your wife said or did something, that family member or that friend, they don't know how to get past that. You may get it off of you and feel like, oh, I feel so much better now. And you're ready to go home and have a romantic evening, right? But then you look and your friend and your family and your cousin, they're mad at your husband or they're mad at your wife because you can't do my wife, you can't do my cousin like that. You're not going to talk to my baby like that. Those types of things. So that's one of the things that we talk about often is keeping your business to yourself. And if you guys can't figure it out, then, sometimes we tell them, go back to the pastor, and if the pastor can't help you, then start searching out for, therapy or therapist, someone that, and even we also talk about finding yourself another couple that you can go to, that can be an example for you, And so,
Exactly.
yeah, so those are things that we share with the families. We always teach our couples to try and be on the same page. Never argue in front of the children. Don't bring the children into your issues and your problems. Sometimes parents find themselves triangulating and they get the children involved, and the children are forced to choose sides. No, keep all that to yourself. Y'all handle that behind closed doors, or go to Starbucks or outside in the car. I tell them, go sit in the car, but don't bring that type of energy into the home in front of your children.
Right, because now you're forcing them to pick sides, and for me being a 100% single mom for 10 years, I had to go into another level of honesty with my children, because for one, I put them through things, being unable to protect them because I didn't have it within myself. I didn't love myself enough. So I'm dealing with somebody that's bullying me, that's bullying them. And so I had to have a very deep conversation with my children that I probably otherwise would not have had. And then I also had to be very open and honest with them about their father, because he opened the door on the things that they should not have known. And now I gotta now, keep that going and making sure that I'm open and honest with them. But I do agree, like sometimes you have to separate that. Sometimes you have to walk away and go, okay, we need to talk about this away from the kid. I think that's important.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. And I was speaking with somebody who was saying, like, as a child, they didn't focus well in school because the night before they had to deal with so much arguing and fighting with their parents. So then at school, they're just kind of drifting because they're wondering, what is it going to be like when you get home? How am I going to feel when I get home? So it's like that safety is now gone when you're arguing in front of the kids or fighting in front of the kids. So I like that. I like that you're like, excuse yourself to the car or Starbucks.
Go sit in the car. Go to Starbucks. If you don't think it's going to go well in Starbucks, just sit in the car, go to the park, but go somewhere where you're not including the children in all of that. And then the other thing too, I'm glad you mentioned the children. One of the other things too with kids is that. I'm a big proponent on not fussing at my children or when they were in school, not fussing at my children before they leave the house. That was the number one thing for me, was not to send my child to school angry, hurt, sad, mad. Now, it's not that I just let them get away with anything and everything prior to leaving the house, but I tried not to make it, a very harsh type conversation with them before they left, because I used to teach school years ago. And so I would see children coming to school and you could tell like something else was on their mind. You could always tell the children who were hungry, the children who, didn't have all of the things that they needed. Their parents were unable to supply all their needs, but you could always tell the children who probably got fussed at quite harshly before they left. So that's a thing for me too.
Okay, so let me have a very transparent moment. So to my 4 champion children, I am sorry that I didn't have Pastor Kim in my life when y'all were little, because no one told me that. So yes, there were times where I probably yelled at them before they went to school, but I'm glad that you're saying that, because there's a lot of things now, like my older 3 always say, my 13-year-old, they're like, oh, you don't have the mom that we had. And I'm like, listen, I'm a different parent now, so it is different. But as you learn, as you grow, you should be learning how to transition and do things differently. And so I really like that you said that, like, make sure your kids are leaving the house knowing that, 1, that they are loved, and 2, that you care about their mental health going to school, like you care about yours. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I want you to talk about It's Just Kim. What can we expect? What are you excited about? I'm ready for it. And stay with us. We'll be right back more with Pastor Kim. All right, welcome back. We are chatting with Pastor Kim Ervin, co-pastor of Church One Ministries in Long Beach, correct?
Yes, we're in the city of Long Beach.
Awesome. She is also a marriage and family therapist, and y'all, she just dropped some nuggets, a whole lot of gems about just marriage and children, and really finding that communication. So if you're just joining us, you're going to want to go back and start from the beginning and get all those nuggets that Pastor Kim dropped. But we want to get into It's Just Kim. It sounds so dainty and cute. So what is It's Just Kim going to be about? What can we expect to get from It's Just
Kim? Right. So It's Just Kim. It's funny. I was having a conversation again with our producer, and we were just talking about some things. And I was talking about, like I talked about earlier, all the hats that I wear, all the things that I do, and the things that I love to do. And who I am, and how I really, sometimes when you are a pastor or a first lady, you can get locked into a box. People don't really know you for all the other things you do and all the other things you are. Like, I love to decorate. If you come to my house, it's like, I love this right there, this over there. I love shopping and purchasing things and putting them up on the wall and making it look pretty, making it eclectic. Most people don't know that, about me. And so It's Just Kim. I get to be everything, or every person, or every hat that I wear. I get to talk about mom stuff. I get to talk about marriage stuff. I get to talk about family stuff, friend stuff. I get to talk about matters of the heart, things that people are going through, real deal topics that people are experiencing right now. I get to talk about maybe some healthy things. I'm working on some healthy things for myself, healing topics. Yeah, so just a lot of things. Like the very first show was last Friday, and we talked about finding closure. And it was just an amazing show, just sharing with people about, what is closure, and how you go about finding it, and what the expectation of it is. And so our next show is going to be talking about isolation, and how we as a people, we really learned how to isolate ourselves, especially during that pandemic.
Right.
People really learned how to isolate themselves. And, I even find myself having to push myself to go and do things and be out, in the public and go
Oh,
and
yeah.
visit, because it got real comfortable being at home. At first it was kind of like freaking me out, like, oh my God, I got to get out of here.
At first, it was like everybody was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys got to make us stay at home." Then you got all comfortable, and you're like, "Well, I don't feel like we need to go back to work. We need to stay at home.
Let's stay home."
Yeah, I love that you're bringing that in as a topic because I don't think that that's something that everybody thinks about. Is that isolation, the good, the bad, the indifferent?
Yeah. So those are things that I really want to talk about. I want to share. And so the topics may vary from, it's a bi-weekly show. So it's not every Friday, but every other Friday. So the next show will be on November the 11th. It's at 8:00 in the morning. So, it's for those early risers. We talk about who we are and what we are and how we show up in the world. And so those are the things that I want to talk about. I think this may be, besides the podcast I do, Coffee with Kim, this may be the most favorite thing to do. It's stretching me, Tasha. It is stretching me because live streaming was not something that I was trying to be a part of. I would see people do it and I would think, gosh, great. They do such a great job. And I said, I could just see myself getting on here going, oh my God, I forgot everything that I wanted to say, But I look at people like yourself and like the Dante show, and I enjoy it because it's a real time conversation, about real issues and things that people are going through. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Good. And I get it because the first couple of episodes I did pre-record because I was like, oh my God, I kept telling the producer, like, I don't know if I can just do live. And my friend, she's the one that said, Tasha, every workshop you facilitate live. What are you talking about? This is you. And so I started doing it live and I'm like, oh, she was right. This is me. I feel so much better doing it live than feeling like it's pre-programmed.
Yes. Yeah. And my work show, 10-minute tips, that is that's a show that's recorded, pre-recorded. And I tell you, I don't know, 10-minute tips may need to go live too, because I think Kwame, our producer, has so many bloopers. I have everything in my mind, what I want to say, the topic, it's all, written out, it's just ready. And then I'll get in there and I'll just go, oh my God. And there's no one there but me and Kwame, right? So it's not like there's an audience of people in front of me, but it's just something about that camera, and him saying, he said
he has a massive pile of bloopers.
And as a matter of fact, if you go back to some of my 10-minute tips, he starts the show with my bloopers. And it is hilarious.
Oh my God.
Funny. But it brings, the real side of me. It's like she's human. She's not out here talking, being perfect. She doesn't know everything because I don't. I tell people all the time, especially in my congregation, I am not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I have frailties. I have faults. I do things that make people unhappy. I think I said it in my show last Friday. I think every once in a while, I think I make God sad and I have to tell him I'm sorry, and it's just that human side of who we are,
Right. I think that builds that know, like, and trust factor with people because they get to see like, oh, she doesn't feel like she just has to sit on this pedestal and be this perfect pastor that doesn't make mistakes. They get to see a human side and they can connect to that.
They can connect to that. And that's the biggest thing about, like you were talking about our down to earth church with a heaven bound church with the ministry. When we were talking about that, that's one of the things that really fed into that, was because we wanted people to feel like they could connect. We wanted people to feel like they weren't being judged or they weren't being set aside or they weren't being looked at differently. Women who have 5-6 kids and 4 or 5 baby daddies, it didn't even matter to us.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. If you're coming looking for Jesus, then hey, he's here. He's available to
Here.
you like the next person.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, with It's Just Kim, are
Mhm.
you having guests? Are you interviewing people, or is it more just you giving out the information and just kind of having an open conversation with the camera, essentially? Or are you inviting people and having them on?
Yes, I'll definitely be inviting people who don't mind getting up early.
Some of us have to wake up before Jesus, so I get it. Yes.
So, I'll definitely have guests. Every once in a while, I have my husband pop in and we'll talk about some, real issues with couples and friendship and just different things, parenting. We're parenting on a different level now. We don't have any more little
Mhm.
kids. We have all adults now, a practically empty nest. And
Yeah.
we have a granddaughter. So it's just
Uh-oh.
our life is different. Our life
Hold
is just
on.
so different.
I'm gonna pause you for a second because the minute you said grandchild, I already know your kids are probably like, "Oh, you treat her way differently." I don't know what it is about this whole grandparent thing, but y'all act like y'all forgot y'all were once
We
parents.
do, we do. And the funny thing, Tasha, is this. Not only do they say that about my granddaughter, but my youngest daughter, because my youngest daughter is 11 years younger than my son, who was the baby.
Oh
And
wow!
they swear that we let her get away with everything, that we are not the same parents that we were when we were raising them. And you know what? I always say, you're right.
Listen,
You
I would.
you just figure out that everything is not that important.
It's not. It is
It's
really not. I would tell my older three kids about the baby. I still say the baby. He's 13. I'm like, listen, y'all say he get away with murder, and this is what I say: he may get away with robbing the bank, but he does not get away with murder.
okay. Well, that's good.
Yes. Because yes, he does. He gets a but here's the thing: he's not bad. He's a well behaved child, but there are things that I just let slide more than I did
Yeah.
the older ones.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I still say when y'all become grandparents, it's just I'm like, when I look at my mom, I'm like, really? That's what
Right.
you're doing? Because these are our grandkids. But
Right.
she said her parents did the same thing with us, so maybe that's just what
Yeah,
it is.
it's true. It's just something different about being a grandparent. I tell you, I don't even know what it is. And my daughter, when she had my granddaughter's 14. And so
Okay.
when she was born, my daughter and my granddaughter were living with us. And it was just like, Mom, really? I heard that so many times. Mom, really? You just gonna let that happen? And even they said that with my youngest. It's like, Mom, really? I remember my oldest daughter saying, You need chores, telling my daughter, You need chores. You need to know how to. It didn't even dawn on me. I was just like, hey, let her live.
She's fine.
She's
Exactly. Exactly. Now, since you brought up 14, age 14, we are dealing in a world where these children are just overstimulated. They don't even
yes.
realize it, but so many children, so many teenagers, so many adults are
Yeah.
overstimulated by social media, by technology. We see so many of these young girls that are trying to live an influencer life before they even know who they are.
Mhm.
What's something that you want these young girls to know? Let's go with like age 14 to about 24. What do you want them to know?
What they see is it's not real. It's not real. I would say all of it, some of it is real, that they see,
Mhm.
but most of it, it's not real. It's not how people really live their daily lives, you know. And when the
Yeah.
camera turns on, it's a performance most of the time, So you are actually trying to compete with an image that maybe even that person doesn't. They're not even able to keep up, But
Right.
you're right. This overstimulation. I even look at it even with the younger ones, the babies now. Every baby that you see, every 2-year-old that you see has an iPad or a tablet or something like that. And I remember back in the day when people used to say that maybe people in my generation, we put our children in front of the TV and that was the babysitter, and now the tablet and the iPad is the babysitter because it definitely holds their attention.
It does, but I'm gonna speak to that age group where it's like, yeah, we might have been in front of the TV, because what we had in front of the TV was a whole lot different. I mean, I watch some of these shows on network TV and I'm like, damn, y'all doing this now on network TV? We could not see that. And I was watching A Different World a few weeks ago and it was like they gave you a pre-warning. This episode is going to obtain things for mature audiences.
Yes.
You need to watch it with your parents or have a discussion. We don't get none of those warnings no more. It just comes on. So that might be a difference. Yes.
Yes, now, and it's very true. The things, and kids have more access to different things. You think hearing about children, who are into porn and all this other kind of stuff, and so it's because they have access to it. They're really smart when it comes to technology, and sometimes they're a little more savvy than their parent. And so the parent doesn't know how to disable certain things, and so kids are able to just take that telephone and go upstairs and go do whatever. You'll never know what they're doing, on that cellular device or on whatever device it is, on whatever social media. You just never know. And then the cyberbullying. That's a whole different type of bullying. That's a whole nother level where children are committing suicide, because people are having hate conversations with them, on social media. We experienced something real personal in our family related to that. And it was a real situation. Real situation.
It is. Yeah. Now, I know that we are coming to an end and you were just really dropping a lot of good information right now. So I'm going to have you back for sure. But before we go and before I have you announce how people can follow you, how they can get in touch with you, how they can watch your new show, can you tell me who is a Shenomenal woman in your life and why?
Wow. Right now it's a couple people, but right now I want to say a Shenomenal woman in my life is my younger sister. She's my only sister. My sister is a cancer survivor, and I watched her go from being healthy to being so sick we weren't sure what was going to happen. And I watched her champion her way through all of that, keep, her children intact. I mean, she really fought her way through it. And even now she's going through, some more treatment, but she's just she has such a positive attitude and a positive demeanor about herself. And she's always encouraging and always loving and caring with other people. And so she's my shero. And I tell her that often. She is my shero. She's my baby, but she's my shero. I look up to her.
That is awesome. Kim, it's been so wonderful talking with you today. Tell everybody how they can follow you, reach out to you, and how they can watch your show and listen to your podcast.
Absolutely. So the podcast, Coffee with Kim, is on all platforms. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's on, I lost it.
You said all platforms.
Bulletin Fight. Yes, Bulletin Fight.
There we go.
Get that one. And then you can find me on Facebook. I'm Kimberly Jenkins Ervin. And then you can also find me on Pyro Media Network. All my shows, everything is there. You can go right there on YouTube, the same thing.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. I will be tuned in to It's Just Kim. I just love the title. I definitely would love to have you back. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for being an incredible Shenomenal woman. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back to close out this Wednesday's show.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Absolutely. You too. We are back. Just thanking co-pastor Kim one last time for her presence, her grace, and being on the show. You guys be sure to tune in to It's Just Kim. It will be live on Pyro Media Network on YouTube, and it is every other, I think she said Tuesday. It'll be on the 11th at 8 o'clock in the morning. If you don't catch it at 8, just make sure you go back to YouTube and watch it. Let's all be sure we are supporting one another. So speaking of support, be sure to subscribe to the Shenomenal Coach on YouTube. I'd greatly appreciate the support. Next week, I will not be in. I will be back traveling again. So I have chosen to run an episode that I got a lot of information out of Crystal Morganfield of TLC Senior Services. She talked about caring for our seniors, the way with hospice, having in-home health support, the questions that need to be asked to the doctor. So it's a very important episode. If you missed it the first time around, next week is your opportunity to tune in and really get a lot of that information, because all of us are going to become senior citizens. All of us have seniors in our family. So it's a lot of good information. That following week, which is going to be the 16th, I'm really excited to be chatting with Essence Turner. She is a money healing coach. And so we're going to talk about healing your relationship with money and your money archetype. So it's going to be a really good show to tune into, so you can really see where you are. How can you heal your relationship with money? Because a lot of people don't realize sometimes we don't have what we want because we're holding on to past traumatic situations with how we see money, how we process having money. When we see money as dirty, or we see that like only people of power have money and they're mean, all of those things manifest how we see and feel about money. So we're going to talk to Essence Turner. It's going to be a great episode. So make sure you are back, because we'll be back live on November 16th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Pyro Media Network or the Shenomenal Coach on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you guys back in 2 weeks. Have a beautiful week and continue to be Shenomenal.